Hey there, fellow streakers.
Good morning.
I got
Happy
in there
day.
first. I saw you were going to try and do it, and I did it.
Yep.
Hello, fellow streakers.
Welcome to our show. This is Jeff and Jamie.
The Jeff and Jamie Show on streaking.
Woohoo!
Just have that as a moniker right up front. We are streaking today, and we are so excited to be streaking with you, fellow streakers. You know what? Today we have a special guest, and that guest is kindness.
Oh, good. I was like, we have a special guest. Is the dog in the room? I don't even know who our special guest is. Our special guest. Welcome. Welcome, Kindness. We're so glad you could join us today. We are so excited to talk to you.
And kindness is the reason why we're doing kindness and why we have kindness today.
We're in a good mood.
Oh, man. Absolutely. But why are we doing kindness today? What is it about kindness?
Well, first of all, I've been waiting to be able to talk about this one because this is one of my favorite things about what streaking does.
We were talking a bit about this morning on our run.
We were, but I was going a different
priority.
direction.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
The direction I was going is that I love it because kindness is an attribute and a difficult thing to set a goal around and a difficult thing to measure. And streaking gives the how to the what. I want to be kind. I want to be more aware of kindness. I want to do more random act of kindness.
What is it about
Streaking
kindness
gives
for you?
you
Why
the-
is kindness so important to you?
That's a good question. Why is kindness so important to me?
I mean, because it is. I mean, you have it on the top of your priority list. It's one of the things that you look at.
That's what we were talking about today, that
Uh-huh.
when it comes to being competitive or kind, I'm like, I'm not very competitive. I'll be like, oh, no, you win. It's okay.
So one of our daughters was running cross country, and you know who you are. She's going to listen to this.
She is.
We won't use her name. Maybe we should.
Maybe
say
it
who
applies
is.
to a couple of the daughters.
Maybe
I think
a couple-
it's happened more than once. They probably are debating. No, let's not say the name
Let's not
because
say
we'll
the
get the
name.
wrong daughter.
No, I know it was this daughter. And she was in I think it was the county final meet.
Mm-hmm.
And she was and she was a decent cross country runner. She was in middle school and had done a pretty good job. Anyway, I was at the race. I was cheering her on. I was at the finish line waiting for her to come in. And there was this great big hill that you saw the runners come over. And I thought, okay, I'll just keep waiting and watching. And I kept on waiting and watching and waiting and watching and waiting and watching.
And usually she's come
And
by
usually
now.
she's come
We're
by
like,
now.
oh, dear.
And finally, like several minutes after when she usually comes in, she came across and I, as a father, highly competitive, very much disappointed that she came in the place that she did. And I was like, what happened? Where were you? What you usually finish much better. Well, Dad, there was this person on the course that was mentally handicapped, and I wanted them to feel good. And so I wanted to make sure that they came in first. Okay, honey.
Kindness. We were
That's
talking
why
about
I'm
this
welcoming
morning.
kindness as a guest.
As a gift.
Yeah. No. You're not permanent kindness. You're a guest.
We'd like to invite you here more often.
This is what Jamie said. Jamie is trying to get me to be more kind. I mean, that really what it is.
It's interesting
because honestly, it is on your priority list.
And it's an interesting thing that I've recognized. I'm not trying to say, oh, I'm so kind. It was more that I've recognized that when it comes to priorities, so I am not very competitive. And sometimes I felt like it would be good to be more competitive, like to have that drive a little bit more, to want to be a little bit more strong in finishing at a certain.
Can you be kind and competitive?
I think you can totally be kind of competitive.
Really?
I think so.
So you can
I
take.
guess I don't know. That's what I was saying is I'm like, as I've looked at myself, I've realized that I'm like, my priority is to be kind over winning. And so if it comes down to it, I'll be like, oh, no, you go ahead. So when we had that story, I was like, yep, I totally get that.
That's my daughter.
That's my daughter. And there's
Right
probably
there.
some people out there that
It
are
would have been
cringing
better
that
for
are
you
like,
to be there.
just win the race.
We're in the race already. I mean, we have some streakers out there that are highly competitive and that they are, and they're phenomenal people and I love them and they're great. And their competition to them is like the fuel that drives them.
Exactly.
And they're kind people.
Right.
I mean,
so
they
that's why
will
I'm
give
like,
you
yeah, I
the
think
shirt
can be.
off their back. I know streakers that we have in our audience that have opened their home, had people come in and live with them and share their home with them. And they are some of the most competitive people that I know.
I agree. So why be kind? Why even? Why should we?
Yeah.
do
What?
that? Why is it okay that I'm kind and not competitive?
I think
Is it okay?
I think people may be thinking right now, no wonder we like her so much more.
No.
Yes.
I think we should
No,
do-
I think it is absolutely true.
We should do a podcast on how I can learn to be more competitive.
I don't know. I think that.
This one will be for you to be more kind.
Oh,
and then
thank
we'll
you.
do one
And
later
then we'll do
for
for
me
you
to be more
competitive. Competitive and kind. So can you be competitive and kind? I think the answer to that is yes. And so to your question then is why be kind? I mean, what is it about kindness that is significant? So yesterday, was it yesterday's the National Kindness Day?
National Kindness Day.
And isn't it interesting? I think that there is a day for every attribute that's out there.
There's a day for a lot of things. There's National Siblings Day. There's National Donut Day. There's National Forget-Me-Not Day.
Which was what, yesterday or the day before Veterans Day?
Yeah.
Or whenever it was. I don't know where we are. We're in the week somewhere.
Anyway, there's a lot of days. But yesterday.
Valentine's Day, the day of love.
Yes.
I mean, all of those attributes. So maybe what we'll do is we'll talk about how to make actionable all of these different days as far as the attributes are concerned.
So that's why I've been excited to talk about this, because I do feel like there's these attributes that I'm like, I want this to be a more conscious part of my life. And I feel like streaking is the how. But you asked the why. Why would we want to be more kind? There are benefits to being kind.
There are, and actually I was looking up some of them.
Oh.
Did you know, according to the randomactsofkindness.org, that kindness is contagious? It says, the positive effects of kindness are experienced in the brain of everyone who, listen to this, witnessed the act. Okay, think about that for just a second. One of the things that I look about, I don't know where that came from, think about and look at,
there you go,
is on YouTube. What are some of the things that go viral? They're when caught on video are random acts of kindness.
Right.
When we see those random acts of kindness where someone, like for example, a police officer buying a pair of socks for someone, that was a viral video that went out everywhere. It was a random act of kindness that went out there. I mean, the whole randomactofkindness.org is part of that thing.
It's a movement, right?
But so the reason why I believe that those go viral is because everyone who witnessed the act, improving their mood and making them significantly more likely to pay it forward. This means one good deed in a crowded area can create a domino effect and improve the day of dozens of people.
I love that. I love this idea that witnessing an act of kindness is inspiring to move to action to be more kind.
I think
pay
it's
it
amazing.
Forward.
So do you think if you were watching like several YouTube videos that were just shorts on people doing random acts of kindness, that you would go out that day happier and be more willing to do kindness?
Totally. I absolutely, totally think that, yes, watching people do acts of kindness makes me happier. I think it brings hope into the world. I think it brings compassion. I think it brings trust. All of these things that you're like, okay, I live in a better world.
I think, speaking, so still on the why, but with this in mind, as far as kindness is contagious, I'm thinking about the neighbor that we had that we lived next to.
Okay, that was a random act of kindness that I have remembered for a really long time.
This is a really neat story.
Okay, so let's think. Megan is that age. So this must have happened 24 years ago.
Yeah.
Something like that. 25 years ago.
Yeah,
this was a
absolutely.
Long time ago.
Yep.
And it was our very first house that we had bought. And
it was a real fixer-upper.
It was a fixer-upper.
we painted one room in that house, I think 7 times, and the magic marker that they used to draw on the wall still bled through.
Can you believe people do that? They decorated with a Sharpie. Anyway, that's a
We
podcast for another day.
Another day. We probably should have just ripped all of that wall down.
It was an exterior wall.
Well, but I mean the inside, as far as where the because it was the it was lath and plaster as well.
Yes,
I mean,
it was an old house.
It was an old house.
But we had just bought it, and you bring up an interesting point, because we bought this house. The market was such that we drove by the house in the middle of the night. Kind of, our realtor called and said, "There's a house going on the market tomorrow. Drive by. If you like it, call me and I'll put an offer on it." And that's what we did.
Sight unseen.
Sight unseen. We hadn't actually been inside the house. So when we got in the house, it was less than desirable in some areas. It was a fixer-upper.
I think you cried.
I did cry. And
Several
I was
days
like,
in a row.
this is our first house. So anyway, it was a time of life that I was a little bit like, oh, here we go. And I had this neighbor just show up at my door, and she brought over this tiny little, I don't know how to describe it. It was like a tiny little tin flower pot. And when I say tiny, it was like maybe 2 inches tall.
Okay.
Like a little watering can, like those little tiny tin watering can, decorative. And then it had one little stem of fake geraniums put inside of it. So it was just this tiny little thing. It was super cute, but it was tiny. And it caught me off guard. And at first I was like, I wonder. She just came over and she said, hi, I just want to welcome you to the neighborhood. And she was very outgoing and very talkative.
Not inhibited at all.
Not inhibited at all. Just totally like, hi, welcome to the neighborhood. I brought you this little thing, and very welcoming. And actually, I feel bad because at the time I was a little put off because I at first I was like, she's really outgoing. Like, I don't know what to do with this. But as I got to know her, so she opened that door and I got to know her, and it ends up that she had cystic fibrosis, and she actually passed away 6 months later. Why we still lived in that house.
So it was a terminal diagnosis.
It was a
I
terminal
mean, she was going to
diagnosis.
pass away from it.
Yes.
She had already had, I think, a lung transplant or something like that. But it
I
was.
don't know. It had been something she'd been fighting her whole life.
Right.
And I remember that random act of kindness because to me, it was how she lived her life. She didn't have much of it left to live.
Mm-hmm.
And she capitalized on every moment. And I've kept that little flower pot.
Do you still have it?
I do, as a reminder to me to try and capitalize on that moment, that here was this person who, because she was my age at the time, so we were in our early 20s.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't live very long, and she had just gotten married.
Mm-hmm.
And
her husband was amazing as well.
And
I mean, they were both an amazing couple.
They knew she didn't have very long even then.
Right.
And so it was just that random act of kindness has stayed with me.
Do you remember, related to her, I thought we got little angels was that after her passing that they gave out, remember to be a little angel?
Oh, I don't remember that.
I remember, so that's what I remember about either before or after we got these little angels, and it was just remember that to be kind like she was.
Like she was.
And
she was like just a little, and it wasn't big things that she did, but I always... After that, I started to recognize, because at the time that she gave it, I didn't know that she had cystic fibrosis or any of that. It was as I got to know her.
Right.
But it was interesting to watch that she was always happy, even though she was really sick.
She was just as happy as happy could be. She had a
positive attitude, and she really... So when we ask, why be kind? Here's a woman who's young, who's been diagnosed with an illness that she probably had spent a lot of her life dealing with and fighting.
Yeah.
And kindness was how she dealt with it. Like, it helped her to work through challenging times.
So another thing that it brings up then, even though her life was short, in the random acts of kindness, one of the other points that it says as far as why be kind, this is under the heading of lifespan. And this is they're quoting someone, Christine Carter, who's the author of Raising Happiness in Pursuit of Joyful Kids and Happier Parents. Quote, people who volunteer tend to experience fewer aches and pains. Giving help to others protects overall health twice as much as aspirin protects against heart disease.
Wow. So that's an interesting thing, that in being kind and thinking of others, I wonder if it helped her fight her own pain.
Fight her own pain and maybe live longer than what was normal or what the diagnosis may have said. Mm-hmm. Any of those things. I know for me personally, when I truly have followed your example and been kind. I know it's rare, but
no, you're a kind person.
Yeah.
You are.
I love you. You're like, yeah.
No, you are
kind. What?
You're totally a kind person. I think you're awesome.
Well, thank you. As I look at being kind, I know that I have experience. It's like I step outside myself and I recognize others around me, and I'm not in recognition of my own pain and difficulties, which helps me to be happier, which has got to have a positive impact on my health.
Right. Totally. I think it totally does.
Why be kind is that's a really good thing right there.
So it's interesting because I don't know if people that are kind intend to be kind so that they can get health benefits. I think that being kind is its own reward, and it's like you get all of these ancillary benefits because of it. And it changes who you are inside. I think that's part of what, as we look at these different things, the random act of kindness that kind of researches this.
So you just brought something up I wanted to go to as well. The Heart and Science of Kindness. This is by Harvard Health Publishing. And they said, give to give, not to receive. So you just said, I don't know if people think about, I'm going to give so I can get a lot.
Right. I'm going to be kind so that my heart functions better and I can live longer. That's not what happens.
Is a cool story.
Okay.
You ready for it? The purest form of kindness may have no audience. And this is, I'm quoting from the Heart and Science of Kindness. And this is Melissa Broderick, who looks like a MED. What does that mean? Master of Education, I think, contributor. So Melissa Broderick, MED. She says, the purest form of kindness may have no audience and offer no credit. I want to see how you react to this. Kindness to accumulate thanks is self-serving at best. Not that part. Some may even say it's an effort to control or make the recipient feel indebted. There is something about reciprocity that comes in there.
Yes. And when kindness is used to do that, then I think it's manipulative.
Yeah.
And I think you lose the intent and the power of the kindness.
But when we are kind, even if, maybe especially if, there's no such payback, the rewards may be all the sweeter. I heard a story about someone who learned that a child from a family with very little money really wanted a bicycle. Now, when I read to that point right there, I thought, oh, kindness, go buy him a bicycle and take it over to him.
Take it over, right.
I mean, that's the kind thing to do, right? Oh, I know they really wanted this bicycle, and so what I did is I bought one, and here it is.
Right.
But listen to this. This threw me for a loop. It totally was different than what I thought it would be. I heard, let's see, heard the story. Heard the story, someone learned a child, bicycle. The fairy godparent bought a super nice bike and asked the shopkeeper to write a highly discounted receipt for an amount the family could afford. The family reimbursed the fairy godparent for the receipt price without knowing it cost far more. Now that's kindness.
That's totally kindness. And good kindness in the sense of allowing no credit was taken.
Zero. Because they had no idea that the family that received the bicycle felt good,
right?
Because they were able to pay it. Whoever it was, the fairy godparent, brought over this bicycle and said, whatever, it was discounted. Here's the receipt. I just thought that it might be something that you could use. And they were able to reimburse him. So both felt good without knowing anything about
that
it.
Happened.
That was an amazing part of the story to me. I mean, to have that level and that foresight of kindness, to be able to look at it and say, for them to feel good about this, they may want to reimburse some. I want to have it significantly discounted. So let's say the bicycle, just for round numbers, was $100, and $100 really expensive. And so the individual, he or she, whoever it was, paid the $100 and then asked to make the receipt for 15 or for 10.
Right.
And so then they took it over and said, I found this highly discounted bike. Here it is.
Thought of you guys. Here you go. I know. I love that.
I don't know. Is that amazing to you?
I love that. And I love that this happened with that. Like everybody was able to benefit from this act of kindness.
Mm-hmm. It's really kind of cool. So the question that I have then is how do we make this actionable? And I love the way that you talked about making things that it's actionable. In other words, we're able to make what is it? What did you say?
Able to perform the action.
Yes, there it was.
We've created this way, because that's part of where I get with these things is I look at it and I'm like, okay, how do I want to be more kind. So we read a lot of things. We recognize the benefits of being kind. I know this is something that I want to be. And what I love about streaking is that streaking allows me to actionize it in the way that I'm keeping track of it. Mm-hmm. I'm like, okay, I'm going to strive to be. So for example, and sorry, I haven't finished any of my sentences because I've had a whole bunch of thoughts come in just the last few seconds about what I love about this.
You go, honey.
So the thing
Burst
that I
with
love
it. Go.
is that you're able to pick something laughably simple and think about it. And one of the things, so this is, I wanted to read this to you. Hold on, let me find it. Wikipedia. A random act of kindness is a non-premeditated, inconsistent action designed to offer kindness towards the outside world. So I thought that was interesting because here it is. It's a random act of kindness, which is non-premeditated and inconsistent. So I look at it and I'm like, okay, how do I get better at non-premeditated, inconsistent actions? I want to have more of
when
that
all
in
we're
my
about
life.
is complete consistency.
Exactly. So that's what I loved about this is I thought, okay, what I can do by setting a streak to be more kind is
So you want to be more kind, and then setting a streak that is actionable,
right.
which is I'm going to perform at least one random act of kindness daily
Right.
or weekly.
So though the random act of kindness is non-premeditated, at some point we have to take these thoughts from our subconscious to our conscious. We have to be able to notice the things going on around us, to be able to see the opportunities to randomly show an act of
So
kindness.
what would you say if you had a streak stack of acts of kindness? What would your streak stack consist of? What would be one or two things that your streak stack would consist of?
I think for me, maybe it's smile at people. Smile at someone every day.
So smile at least one other person daily.
Smile at least one other person a day. This is a good one. Go slightly outside of your comfort zone at least once a day to make someone else smile.
Ooh, now that's interesting.
That would be a good one to
That'd
look
be a
at,
good
too.
one. And maybe that's, and that might be at least, and I love that at least once a day. See, that's one of the things. And by the way, these ideas, randomactsofkindness.org is where we're pulling a lot of these. And what we are looking at is really making them actionable.
Right. Bringing them from this subconscious, inconsistent place to, I can actually be consistent in my random acts of kindness. I can smile at people. I can give that compliment that I thought. Not just hold it back, but I can actually say it when I look at someone and think, wow, you did that really well, or you look really pretty today, or you always say the nicest things. I can say that to them. I can share that with them. That
And you
is
can
a
have that
act
as
of
a
kindness.
streak. Yeah.
You can have that
And
as
that's
a
one of
streak.
the things, we talk about in the streaks. Sorry, did you have one more? It looked
Nope,
like you had
that was
one more. We talk about in streaking. So you make it laughably simple, no record, no streak, and create a community.
And when you do that around kindness, if you have a laughably simple streak of kindness, streaks that you're doing to be kind, and then you're keeping track of those every day, it's going to change who you are. You're going to become a part of this amazing community of people who are doing random acts of kindness. And based on what we've read, that all that needs to happen is someone else to witness kindness. You can literally change your life and the world around you simply by having a laughably simple streak to be more kind.
Do you hear it?
Yep. Keep a record and join the community.
There it is. The music that's coming one more time.
We've had so much fun talking to Kindness today. Thank
yes,
you for
thank
being our
you,
special
Kindness,
guest.
for being our special guest. Hey, take a look at doing a streak stack of kindness, something out there that you can do. Well, we're going to talk next time a little bit about memory and record keeping, which is going to be quite significant. Until then, have a great day, be kind, and
keep streaking.
Keep streaking.
But I can show you a simpler way. It's the small and simple things that make the life we live worth living. Among the rush, do one push up, become a better you. It's the small and simple things that make you grow into what you're hoping. You're in a hurry, don't even worry. It's too simple not to do. It's the little things that make a better you. A better you.